What's up guys, my name's Brandon and welcome back to Apple Weekly. This week was full of software releases and crazy iPhone leaks, so that's how you know it's gonna be another fun Apple Weekly episode. So in this video, we're gonna discuss the latest iOS 16 beta and some additional new features in it, the new iOS 15.6.1 update and why the media is lying to you about it, some iPhone 14 leaks about the release date, prices, and colors, how TikTok could be keylogging you and tracking everything you type, why an Apple employee got threatened over a TikTok video, and more. And as always, if you guys want to stay updated with all things Apple, make sure to click that subscribe button down below so you don't miss next week's Apple Weekly episode. All right, so as always, let's start off with some of the latest iOS 16 features and changes, some additional ones that I did not cover in my previous video. So first off, I want to talk about the tap to wake. So if you have an iPhone with a notch, of course, you tap the screen, of course, to unlock your device and wake your device. That was completely broken in beta 5, but now in beta 6, it's working as expected. And I wanted to mention this first because I did talk about that quite a bit as being a bug, but now every time you tap your device, it actually comes on. It wakes up right away as intended, and it doesn't just do nothing or take a couple of taps to wake up your device. Now, something else I noticed here in iOS 16 beta 6 is that if you go into, let's just go into Safari here, for example, I don't know why I searched for 8 core, but if we go into landscape mode here and we pull down our notification center, you will see that I'm actually seeing a bug here. I didn't even notice this before. I never checked it at a time that had 2 digits right here. But anyways, you could see that the time is now over to the left. So that is a new layout there for the landscape mode for the lock screen or notification center. So I'm not sure why that bug is there like that, but that is also a bug. And there's another one as well. So if we scroll down or if we swipe down for the control center, you could see there's a bug here as well. You could see all of my control center toggles over here on the far right. It's just like really weird spacing. So bug right there, and then also a bug for the notification center. And then going back to the lock screen, if we tap on the album artwork on our now playing platter right there, it pulls up the album artwork right here, and you will notice that it is slightly smaller than it was in beta 5. So Apple's been doing a lot of tweaking with the sizing of the album artwork here on the lock screen, and now it seems like the perfect size in my opinion. So before it was just a little bit bigger, a little bit too big in my opinion, but now it's like the perfect size on the lock screen. In the Photos application, there's a new splash screen for shared library. So this is a new one right here. It says share from camera. And then you also get the options down here to share automatically or to share manually only. So it's a splash screen, but also with some options down there to choose what you would like to do for the shared library. It was actually a banner in the Photos application. It just stayed up top until I tapped on it. Beta 6 also adjusts the default home screen layout. So the fitness application now has a dedicated spot on the default home screen layout, and shout out to Reddit for bringing this to my attention, along with this one right here where iOS and iPadOS can now recognize soft line breaks when you extract text from photos. Now, something else I'm really pleased to see has been fixed here in beta 6 is inside of the Shortcuts application, the set wallpaper action now works as intended. So you guys will know I've made several videos here on the channel about how to change your wallpaper every day or every hour, whatever you want to do, and it never worked if you did it through the shortcuts in iOS 16 until now. Now it actually works. You can actually set your home screen wallpaper. So if I run this, for example, right now, you can see that is the home screen. It actually changed, it worked. You can see it changed it to the lock screen, but not to the home screen. So that's pretty interesting. I'm going to do that again one more time. It's going to choose another random one. And you can see this time it chose this wallpaper. So if we go to our lock screen, you can see it sets that as our lock screen. Now what's weird is, like I said, it does not change the home screen. It only changes the lock screen, but nonetheless, that feature, that set wallpaper action is now working properly in beta 6. So we also have a change to the haptic keyboard, and it's not something you can visually see, but if you go to your sounds and haptics right here, and then go down to your keyboard feedback and set that to haptic, when you go to type now, you will notice that the haptic feedback, the haptic engine there is much less like obvious. It's not as harsh in my opinion, as it was in previous versions, which I like much better. I never liked this feature from the beginning. I thought it was cool to have, but I never really liked it because it just felt too strong in my opinion. But now the haptic feedback is much less, toned down, and it feels better when I'm typing and not as distracting as it was previously. And if we head into the podcast application and go to the Browse tab right here, we have two new sections, and this is actually a server-side update. So you will see this on iOS 15 and iOS 16, but you will see right here we now have the charts for top subscriber channels and top subscriber shows. And if we go into the top subscriber shows, you can see these are the shows with, of course, the most subscribers. So that's pretty interesting, and you can now see that again on iOS 15 and iOS 16 since it was a server-side update. Now, as far as bugs go, I have had a few bugs here on this latest version of iOS 16, and the first one I want to talk about has to do with your lock screen and focus modes. So if you have a focus mode linked to a specific lock screen, like for example, if I go into sleep, you will see it changes my lock screen and my home screen wallpapers. So if I press lock right here, you can see my lock screen is different now. Now, if I go out of sleep mode, you can see that sometimes it will actually take me back to my very first wallpaper right here instead of taking me back to the one I was previously on. So it worked this time. It's not something that happens every single time, but I've noticed on multiple occasions it would set me back to my first lock screen that I have set up right here, like the first one in my lock screen setup instead of the one I was on previously. And it gets quite annoying because I have to go in there and change it back. I have to go all the way down here and tap on that, and to get back to the home screen and lock screen I had previously. So that is a bug I've not noticed until this 6th beta. Now, there's also a bug in the wallet application. If you have an American Express card added to your wallet, you might have noticed that it got automatically removed for no reason, and the only way to get it back was to re-add it to your wallet. So that is also a bug here in beta 6. I'm expecting that to be fixed though in the next beta because Apple did also mention it in the release notes. Another thing I wanted to mention on the lock screen is that sometimes your fitness activity would not show up. It would not work at all on the lock screen. So I'm going to go ahead and do this. Also, I wish you didn't have to customize the screen every time you change a widget. That's also something I kind of see as a bug because just because you change a widget doesn't mean you want to change your home screen. I really don't like that that's there. I think it's very redundant. But you can see here my activity, it's showing that right now. So I do have activity to show, but you can see the fitness widget is not showing any data right there. Also, the double media player bug appears to be fixed. So the bug where it would show a media player platter on top of another media player platter, it would just show both of them right there. That appears to be fixed in beta 6 because I've not been able to reproduce that, and I've also not seen any of you guys mention that again. Also, the Apple Music bug appears to be fixed as well, where it would randomly stop or randomly pause, and it had nothing to do with my connection. So that appears to be fixed here in beta 6 as well. And then as far as performance goes, performance has actually been really good so far here on this 6th beta. I've had no random resprings whatsoever. I've had no, alerts to report something in feedback because something crashed in the background. I've had no issues with my lock screen, like changing lock screens, changing wallpapers, adding widgets. I've really had no hiccups or no stutter at all on this latest beta, which is really good to see. Now, of course, we are still, a few weeks away from seeing iOS 16, so there are still betas to go, but right now it's looking pretty good, in my opinion, for the performance. And then as far as battery life goes, battery life is also pretty good here on the 6th beta, but unfortunately, I'm not seeing a big improvement over beta 5. I was comparing my charts on my main device over here, but I was not really seeing a big difference from the previous build. So don't expect anything crazy. Of course, you're probably using beta 6 right now, so you'll probably attest to this as well, but battery life, not a huge increase, and I honestly will not expect any more major increases to battery life until like the RC build or the final build. And even by then, it's not going to be as good as iOS 15. That's not going to come until like an iOS 16.x update. It's going to get gradually better over time. It's not going to be as good as iOS 15 even after the public release. Now, I do also want to give you guys an update on the other software that was released earlier this week, which is iOS 15.6.1 and watchOS 8.7.1, because there are some important things to note here. So first off, watchOS 8.7.1 was an update that was only available for the Apple Watch Series 3, and it fixes a bug that could cause the Apple Watch Series 3 to reboot unexpectedly. So definitely an update you want to do if you are still using the Series 3. And as for iOS 15.6.1, if you saw news headlines this week about an iOS update, you probably got pretty anxious and ran to your phone to update. And the reason I say that is because the media outlets posted several articles, and CNN even ran a segment on live TV where they just warned all iPhone and iPad users to update their iPhone or iPad ASAP or risk getting hacked remotely. Yes, seriously. And this was really funny to me because, this update is no different than any other iOS update with security patches. As a matter of fact, it's actually, less patches than normal for Apple. I mean, Apple normally patches several security vulnerabilities, but this time they patched 2 of them. Now, yes, they were both being actively exploited, but the media made it seem like, if you don't update ASAP, you're going to get hacked. All your information is going to be stolen like tonight if you don't update. That's basically what all these headlines were saying, and I just feel like it was completely blown out of proportion. It was really nothing out of the ordinary, so it must have been a really slow week in tech, for news. But iOS 15.6.1, obviously something you should update to, but I would not run to your device and update as soon as possible or risk getting hacked. I don't think that's very likely. All right, so with that being said, let's talk about what is next for Apple. So next up is going to be iOS 16 Beta 7, and that should come out next week. So of course we are now on a weekly release schedule. Now we don't have a ton of betas to go, so it's not going to be a ton of weeks in a row, but next week we should see Beta 7 along with the next public beta, and they should come out on the same day. We should see that right there on Monday the 22nd. That has been Apple's favorite day over the past couple of betas, so I would expect it to be on Monday. Of course, it is also possible to be a Tuesday or Wednesday, but if Apple is going to stick to what they've done recently, it would be right there on that Monday. And then as far as the final public release of iOS 16, the Apple event is rumored to be on September 7th, and that is usually when we see the RC build for the next major iOS release. So if that is the case again this year, that means that we should see iOS 16 publicly released to everybody on the week of the 12th, if not the 12th itself. So we should see it then, and of course the new iPhones will come out later that week on that Friday. And then iPadOS 16 and macOS Ventura will come out sometime in October. All right, so now let's move on to the latest Apple news. And let's start off with the iPhone 14, because now that we are less than 1 month away, the leaks are starting to come in hot and heavy. So first off, we now have a potential date for the upcoming Apple event and the iPhone 14 launch, as I just mentioned earlier. Those dates, according to Mark Gurman, are September 7th and September 16th. So according to the report, this event is expected to be an online-only event, not a fully in-person event, and also employees have already begun recording segments for this presentation over the past few weeks. So that September 7th date seems pretty likely for the event. Gurman is usually right when he predicts the dates for something like this. Now, as far as the actual release of the iPhone 14, retail store employees have also been told to prepare for a quote, major new product release on September 16th. So that is why the iPhone 14 is expected to launch on that day, with pre-orders coming the Friday before as usual. And these dates are actually pretty unusual for Apple. If you look back in history, Apple actually usually does these events on, for instance, this year, it would be the week of the 12th. Apple usually waits until the second full week of September to host these events and release the iPhone 14. So they are doing it a little bit earlier than expected this year. And the reasoning behind that may actually come from Ming-Chi Kuo, who put this on Twitter. The iPhone 14 announcement and shipping date may be earlier than iPhone 13 and 12, which could be one of the reasons why Apple offered a positive outlook for Q3 2022 from the last earnings call. The global recession risk is still growing and unpredictable, so announcing and shipping the iPhone as soon as possible may minimize the impact of recession risk on demand. So basically what he's saying is that he doesn't want to risk demand going down because of being in a recession, so it's better to announce and release these earlier. Even if it's only by a week, it's better than being, on time or even later than normal. And then speaking of a recession, that's another reason why the iPhone 14 will see a price increase this year. But we didn't know exactly how much of a price increase to expect until now. Now, of course, nothing is official, but Wedbush analyst Daniel Ives just recently put out a new investor note that says, quote, while the base iPhone will stay at the same price, we believe a $100 price increase on the iPhone 14 Pro and Pro Max is likely in store, given component price increases as well as added functionality on this new release. And to offset the price increase, he does also expect the base storage to be increased from the current 128 gigs on the 13 Pro. So maybe this will be the first year that we see the Pros start at 256 gigabytes. gigabytes. And as for the new iPhone colors to expect this year, Majin Buu on Twitter shared some iPhone 14 clone cases that have started being sold in China, because of course they have. And these have had a history of being like eerily close to the actual cases that Apple ends up selling themselves. So as you can see here, we have 8 different case colors that are shown. And given this and also past rumors, it is definitely looking like Apple, the cool new color this year is going to be purple. So it's going to replace pink on the 14, and it's going to replace the Sierra Blue on the Pro models. All right, enough about the iPhone 14. Now let's follow up on something that we talked about in last weekend's episode, and that is in-app web browsers and the dangers of using them. And this time, TikTok is the culprit. So once again, according to the same researcher as last weekend, Felix Cross, TikTok can monitor all keyboard inputs and taps on your device. So if you clicked on a link on TikTok and you opened their in-app browser and logged in to like one of your accounts online and paid for something, TikTok would be able to see your exact username and password, your credit card number, and anything else you enter or tap on while in that in-app web browser. So in his post, he says this: when you open any link on the TikTok iOS app, it's open inside their in-app browser. While you're interacting with the website, TikTok subscribes to all keyboard inputs. We can't know what TikTok uses the subscription for, but from a technical perspective, this is the equivalent of installing a keylogger on third-party websites. And that last sentence is very off-putting to me, and apparently it was to TikTok as well, because they publicly responded to this report by saying, yes, these features exist in the code, but we're not using them. That's basically what they said. And if you want to believe that, you can. That's up to you. But I have a hard time believing that something is in place and just not being used. But one thing that I will say is that you need to stop using in-app browsers as a whole on any application from now on. Open every single link in Safari. There's always a little icon down there that says open in Safari, or it's just a little, Safari icon. Tap on that to prevent any of this crap from affecting you. I mean, it's really seems to be an issue with iOS applications. So just use Safari and you'll be good. And then finally, let's talk about a viral story from this past week about a 29-year-old Apple employee who got threatened to be fired over a TikTok video response. So it all started when an Apple employee responded to a user on TikTok who had lost her iPhone at Coachella and then got threatening text messages telling her to remove the iPhone from her Apple ID. So the Apple employee made a response video to help this girl out and to tell her what to do in a situation where your iPhone gets lost or stolen. And it seems simple and helpful, right? Well, Apple saw this and told her to either remove the TikTok video or she would be fired. So Apple told her that she breached company policy by identifying herself as an Apple employee and posting about Apple-related topics online. But according to Apple's social media policy, it does not specifically say that employees are not able to post, videos about the technology entirely. And she even said that, and she said that the only thing Apple says that you can't do is talk badly about the company or share private information, which she didn't do either. So she's made a few videos after this one talking about the situation, but she has not been fired yet, as far as I can tell, and the videos are still up and they have millions of views. So it'll be interesting to see what happens, but I also want to know what you guys think of this whole situation. I mean, is Apple in the wrong for threatening her over a seemingly helpful video that doesn't really mention anything that is not publicly available online? Or is she in the wrong and maybe she shouldn't have posted about Apple or the software online since she is an employee after all? So, and if you want to see the TikToks, in reference to this story, I will link them down below. That may help, your case if you, think Apple's in the wrong or if you think she's in the wrong. Watch those videos and let me know what you think, because I'm kind of conflicted on this one. I can see why Apple would say that, but also I see this as being something very helpful to help a bunch of people on TikTok, know what to do if their iPhone gets stolen. So there you have it, guys. That is the latest batch of Apple news from this past week, along with some additional features and changes found in iOS 16 Beta 6, and also an update on iOS 15.6.1, which is a vital update. You have to go update right now, according to the media. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, I would appreciate if you give it a thumbs up. Also, make sure to subscribe for a lot more iOS 16 videos coming in the near future. But anyways, guys, thanks again for watching, and I'll see you soon.